You're the very most fun I've ever found, and you're my friend. Hi, this is Cricket talking to ya. I just love weddings, don't you? They're so beautiful, and guess what? We're going to my cousin Laura's wedding right now. And guess what again? We're going to be flower girls. We gotta get ready 'cause it's almost time. Those wedding bells are about to chime. We'll lead the way and the folks will smile when the flower girls walk down the aisle. We'll wear flowers in our hair and scatter flower petals everywhere. And when they play, "Here Comes the Bride," I think I'll feel a little nervous inside. Family and friends are all sure to be there. Our wedding brings together people who care. We'll walk so slowly in single file when the flower girls walk down the aisle. I was really excited about my cousin Laura's wedding, but when she asked me to be her flower girl, I could hardly believe it. "What does a flower girl do?" I asked. "A flower girl gets to walk ahead of the bride," said Laura. "And drop flowers in her path?" I asked. "That's right," said Laura. "Think you can do it?" "No problem," I said. The day before Laura's wedding, we had a rehearsal. That means everybody practiced what they were supposed to do. And my mom told me 4 things to remember when I walked down the aisle. The first thing was, take slow steps. Then don't trip over my dress. Then always look straight ahead. And especially don't laugh or giggle. Then she showed me how to hold the flower basket with one hand and drop the rose petals with the other. "Hey," I said, "this is easy." But when the big day came, I have to admit, I was a little nervous. We left for the church really early to make sure we got there on time. And when we did, we went into a waiting room to change clothes. My cousin Laura was already there with her bridesmaids. "Golly gee," I said to Laura, "you sure look beautiful." "And so do you," said Laura. "Maybe someday, Cricket, you'll get to be a bride too." "Maybe," I said, "but first I have to finish college." And then everybody laughed. Well, that made me feel a little less nervous. But when Laura's mom came in and said it was time to take our places, the butterflies really started in my tummy. "Cricket," my mom said to me, "I have to go now. Are you going to be all right?" "Oh, sure," I said. "But where will you be sitting?" "Right where I was during rehearsal," said my mom. "Oh, yeah," I said. "I remember." And then I went out to wait with everybody else. And guess what? I wasn't the only one who was nervous. My cousin Laura was asking everyone if she looked all right. And Laura's dad was even crying a little. So I went up and asked him, "Why are you crying, Uncle Bob?" "I guess," said my uncle, "'cause I'm losing my little girl." "But Laura's not moving away, is she?" I said. Well, my uncle didn't have time to answer, 'cause all of a sudden the wedding march started. I took my place in line right in front of Laura and my Uncle Bob. And when the procession started moving, I could feel those butterflies in my tummy again. So I tried to remember the 4 things I was supposed to do. Take slow steps, don't trip over my dress, look straight ahead, and don't giggle. And then it was my turn to walk into the church. But guess what? All of a sudden, someone took a picture, and a flashbulb popped right in front of my eyes. "Oh no," I said to myself, "I can't see a thing." And then something even worse happened. I looked down at my hands, and picture this. I didn't have my flower basket. "Oh no," I said to myself, "I must have left it in the waiting room." And then I began to get really nervous. I started looking around for my mom, but I couldn't see her anywhere. "What am I going to do now?" I said to myself. Well, if you want to find out what happened, you'll have to wait till you turn my tape over. But don't do it yet, because right now we're going to play a wedding game. You know, all weddings are alike in some ways. There's always a bride and a groom and a ring. And there's always someone to play Here Comes the Bride. But right now, I'm going to tell you about some weddings that are really different. And you can help me. When I say, here comes the, you say bride. Ready? Let's do it. When two grizzly bears get married, though it never has been tried, grr, growl, down the aisle, here comes the. When two fish are getting married, bring a towel for getting dried, 'cause splish, splash, down the aisle, here comes the. When two kangaroos get married, bring a pogo stick to ride. Boing, boing, down the aisle, here comes the. Now I see two dinosaurs. We better run and hide, 'cause crash, bash, down the aisle, here comes the. When Cousin Laura was getting dressed for her wedding, we had to help her find something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. 'Cause if a bride has one of each, she's supposed to have good luck. Well, that stuff wasn't easy to find, but let's see if you can do it. When I sing something old, you point to something old. When I sing something new, point to something new. When I sing something borrowed, you point to something that is not yours, 'cause you might borrow it. And when I sing something blue, point to something with blue in it. Now get ready, 'cause here we go. Look all around the room, look all around outside, 'cause you gotta find some special things to give to a bride. Something old, something new, something borrowed, not yours, something blue. Did you find those things? Well, get ready to look again, and this time point to different things. Look up and down and in, look here and near and far, 'cause you gotta find some special things, and here's what they are. Something old, something new, something borrowed, not yours, something blue. Let's try it one more time. Look everywhere you can, look everywhere you know. See if you can find them all. Here we go. Something old, something new, something borrowed, not yours, something blue. Being in a wedding is really exciting, but there are so many things to remember. It can be a little confusing too. Let's see if you can help me. I'll say something about a wedding, and then I'll ask you if it's right or wrong. Then you tell me. The bride carries a big bunch of flowers called a bouquet. Is that right or wrong? That one's right. Cousin Laura carried a bouquet of flowers just like mine, only it was bigger. Now listen and tell me if you think this one's right or wrong. The man the bride marries is called the groom. Is that right or wrong? That one's wrong. The man the bride marries is called the groom. Not the broom. Did I fool you? Well, see if you think this one's right or wrong. After a wedding, everybody throws rice at the bride and groom. Do you think that one's right or wrong? What I said was right. People throw rice after a wedding because it's supposed to bring good luck. And now I'm going to tell you a story about a lucky bride and groom. So make yourself comfortable. Here it comes. Once upon a time, there was a king who had 3 beautiful daughters, Phoebe, Chloe, and Daphne. And one after the other, Phoebe and Chloe were married to rich, handsome princes. So the king expected that Daphne, his most beautiful daughter, would do the same. But every time a rich, handsome prince asked her to marry him, Daphne would say, "Thank you for the offer, kind sir, but I'm not ready to be married. And besides, I don't love you." Well, this went on for a whole year, and when the king complained to his wife, the queen just said, "Don't worry, dear. She'll come to her senses soon." And then the same thing happened the second year. So the king said to his wife, "You really must speak to that girl." But the queen replied, "Don't worry, dear. She'll come to her senses soon." But when the same thing happened a third year in a row, even the queen began to get nervous. So she went to Daphne and said, "Daphne, dear, pretty soon there won't be any princes left to marry. You better say yes to the next one who asks you." But Daphne just said, "I'm sorry, mother dear, but I couldn't marry someone I wasn't in love with." Well, the queen thought about this for a minute, and then she said, how about if you go out looking for your one and only? Maybe that'll speed things up. Good idea, said Daphne, and she went out looking that same afternoon. But the queen had a plan of her own. She went to her favorite magic fairy and said, Cobweb, I want you to make sure Daphne falls in love with a rich, handsome prince. Then Cobweb said, yes, your majesty, and she flew off to find Daphne. Well, when Cobweb found the princess, she flew up behind her and sprinkled some fairy dust. And then she said, go to sleep, Daphne dear, and when you awake you shall be in love with the very first man you see. Then Daphne fell asleep on the spot. A minute later, a young man came walking down the road. Cobweb quickly flew up behind him, sprinkled some fairy dust, and said, now and forever, from this day, you shall be a prince, I say. But guess what? Instead of turning into a rich, handsome prince, the young man became an ugly little troll. Can you believe it? Oh no, cried Cobweb. What have I done? And then quick, she took her fairy book out of her pocket and tried to find what she did wrong. But all of a sudden, Daphne yawned and opened her eyes, and the first thing she saw was the troll, of course. Oh, darling, said Daphne to the troll, I love you. Will you marry me? Well, the poor little troll, who was really a young man, was so surprised he couldn't say a thing. So Daphne said, oh, I knew you would. Come back to the castle and meet my family. No, cried Cobweb. But it was too late. Daphne and the troll were gone. Well, I bet you can guess what happened when Daphne got home. I think I'm going to faint, cried the queen. And I forbid you to marry a troll, cried the king. But Daphne didn't care. She went ahead with her wedding plans anyway. Her sisters Phoebe and Chloe came over, but they were horrified by the troll too. He's so short, said Phoebe. You can't marry him. And he'll never fit in at the country club, said Chloe. But Daphne didn't care about that either. She invited everybody in the whole kingdom to come to her wedding, including all the fairies. But when Cobweb got her invitation, she said, I can't possibly go. I can't. But then the big day came, and Cobweb's curiosity got the best of her. She put on her best pair of fairy wings and flew off to the castle. Then she hid behind some curtains and took out her fairy book again. Maybe it's still not too late, she said, and she kept on looking for the right spell to turn the troll back into a young man. Then all of a sudden, the trumpets blared and the wedding march began. First came the ugly little troll, and then came Daphne with her father. At the last minute, the king had decided to let the wedding continue. If my daughter wants to marry a troll, he'd said, then she must really love him. Daphne looked lovely in a peach organza gown with a long flowing train in the back, and the troll looked as handsome as a troll can look. He had on a white tuxedo with a peach bow tie. All during the ceremony, Cobweb kept looking for the right magic spell, but as the groom got ready to kiss the bride, he was still a troll. So poor Cobweb crossed her fingers and closed her eyes. Only one thing can save me now, she said to herself. I sure hope it works. And when Cobweb opened her eyes, what do you think she saw? As Daphne kissed the troll, he suddenly turned into the handsomest prince you ever saw. I should have known it would end like this, cried Cobweb happily. Fairy tales always do. We'll wear flowers in our hair and scatter flower petals everywhere. And when they play Here Comes the Bride, I think I'll feel a little nervous inside. Family and friends are all sure to be there. A wedding brings together people who care. We'll walk so slowly in single file when the flower girls walk down the aisle. If you want to find out what happened at Laura's wedding when I forgot my flower basket, just turn my tape over, and I'll be talking to ya.